Welcome to InThisCornerTV.com. I'm Smitty. We're in Las Vegas. Fight week has arrived. Manny Pacquiao takes on this man, Ricky Hatton, May the 2nd at the MGM Grand. First off, Ricky's a little upset with me that I'm not taking him to the Bon Jovi concert. Sorry, Ricky. You gotta remain focused.
Yeah, you look dressed like Bon Jovi. You're there with the glasses on today, looking quite smooth, mate. But big fan of Bon Jovi. But there's only one man on my mind, and that's that little fella from the Philippines, as they say.
Now, the preparation, the hard preparation, is pretty much done. Fight week has arrived. Where are you at physically, and more importantly, at this point, for me, mentally?
I'm at the place I really hoped I would be, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously your training goes well. You're fighting a southpaw opponent. We've got the game plan off to a T. Technically, everything's falling into place now. And for my last hardest workout, just to know you've peaked correctly, you want your last hardest workout to be to show your best form, and that's what I've done. I was really on form when we sparring. My timing was great. Everything we've been working on tactically towards the style of my opponent has worked. So physically, mentally, I could not be in a better place than I am at the minute.
Every fighter handles fight week differently. For you, this final countdown as we lead up to Saturday night in May the 2nd in Pacquiao, what are you going to try to do to relax yourself this week?
Well, we just hang about with the team, basically do what feels natural. I know some fighters are very superstitious and they have to have a set routine where they like to do this or this. I just do whatever I feel like doing, basically. And the main thing is, my last, sometimes your last hard training session or your last sparring session, if you're a little bit on the ropey side and you quite haven't performed, then the week of the fight mentally you're not as strong as you should be. But with my last sparring session being exceptional, won't take me much to stay relaxed now. I'll just be counting the hours down now.
A lot of people have asked me how I see this fight, and I'll do a complete breakdown next week in a column that I'll do. But I think that you have to do 3.5 things to win this fight. One, you have to use the jab that we spoke about the last time we interviewed. You have to come behind the jab. I think you have to go to the body early and often. And I think you have to be tenacious, ferocious. And that other half a thing I think you need to do is perhaps stretch the Marcus of Queensberry rules just a little bit so that you make Manny feel very uncomfortable.
I think I agree with you. Obviously, I am a rough fighter. I am an aggressive fighter. The only thing I ask on the night, I've got a sensational referee who's refereed me before. Whether the fight is at a distance or whether the fight is up close, as long as none of us are fouling, just let the fight flow. I think Manny would want would have the same view of the fight. As long as the fight is, whether it's at a distance or close, just let the fight flow. Let the fans, they'll come and see a fight. Let us have a fight. But yeah, I think I've got to get amongst him, throw him out of his stride. He likes to settle into a little bit of a rhythm with his hands and his footwork, with this shuffling in and out style that he has. And I think the sooner I get to him and start throwing him out his rhythm and let him feel that I'm not an Oscar De La Hoya who's left it on the scales. I'm not a Diaz. I'm not a Manuel Marquez. I'm a lot bigger, I'm a lot stronger, I'm a lot faster, and I'm a lot more of a handful than them guys. The sooner I can let him know, I think the better I'll make the fight for myself.
Would you say that the Kosh-Tszyu fight, even though Kosh-Tszyu is more of a counter-puncher, and this kid is an energizer-type bunny fighter, but that type of pressure and tenacity, you didn't give him time to think.
I didn't know, and Kosh-Tszyu is very, very patient. He's very, very good. He's very patient, cautious. He leaves back, doesn't make many mistakes. I think Manny's a little bit more open and makes a lot more mistakes than what you think. He puts everything into that left cross. He backs out and sets himself and then comes diving in and running in sometimes. So he leaves himself there to be hit. So there's dangers and there's weaknesses on both sides, when you're fighting someone like Manny Pacquiao. If he hits you, you know about it because he puts everything into his punches. But if he misses, he can sometimes leave him open. He's not the most difficult fighter to hit. He's not the most agile. Sometimes he can fall off balance and stuff like that. That's what we've been working on. So I've got to be cautious, but I think the key will be to make him miss and make him pay, I think.
You watched a lot of films of his fights?
Loads of films, and I think ultimately, I think size and strength, and the Ricky Hatton who beat Kostya, I think will give him absolutely, terrifying problems. But I'm a damn sight better fighter than I was the night I beat Kostya, and jabbing more now, I'm moving my head, I'm showing more angles, and we scraped the surface in the Malignaggi fight with how well I'm boxing. If one thing Floyd Mayweather Jr. taught me was that I have to go back to the drawing board technically, and in doing that, I'm boxing a damn sight better technically than I was 2, 3, 4 fights ago, and I haven't changed my style. I'm still the aggressive, tenacious, 100-mile-an-hour, real handful Ricky Hatton, but with a lot more poise as well. And all things included, along with being the naturally bigger man, I think May 2nd it'll be enough.
I know you have a lot of respect for Manny, but you mentioned Floyd a couple of times. I think Floyd's a better fighter than Manny Pacquiao, a bigger fighter. Do you feel that this guy Manny is not as good as Floyd?
Well, it's totally different styles as well, so Manny has strengths in other areas and weaknesses in other areas, just like Floyd will have strengths, and Floyd's work rate isn't as good as Manny's, but Manny isn't quite as maybe as accurate as Floyd, and Floyd chooses his moments more. Well, probably sometimes Manny can gamble and leave his chin out, so there's strengths and weaknesses, pluses and minuses in fighting Manny like there's at Floyd. I think the big plus is that it's down at 140 pounds. I think not just the Floyd fight. I think my fight against Louis Collazo, I think showed that moving up that extra £7 wasn't comfortable for me to do. But it still took Floyd 9 rounds to get rid of me. Louis Collazo hit me with everything but the kitchen sink. He couldn't get rid of me. Kostya couldn't get rid of me. I don't share Freddie Roach's enthusiasm that Manny's going to get rid of me in 3 rounds. I'm not saying he can't do it, because anything can happen in a boxing ring, and I respect Manny immensely. But I just think I've got the style to do the job, and I know what I've got to do. It's been working in training, working in sparring. Just got to put it all together now, May 2nd.
We're not going to look beyond Saturday night. Well, maybe just for just a second. You're 30 years old. You've won some world titles. You probably accomplished just about everything you set out to in the sport of boxing. Beyond this fight, why will you fight? Money, fame, legacy. You've got a great son. You probably can afford all the Guinness you're ever going to want. Why will you continue beyond this to fight, which I expect you will if it goes well, or if you're in the fight, and I would expect you would continue. What are you fighting for now, Ricky?
Well, a fighter can't go any higher than becoming the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But the way I'm performing at the minute, I have such confidence in the way I'm boxing, ability-wise, and just I feel like I'm really coming to my prime. So as much as I've done in boxing, I'd be an idiot to start contemplating retirement when I'm performing so well. But like you say, there isn't much more for me to achieve, especially come Saturday night should I beat Manny Pacquiao. And I think leaving a legacy, I think I would have done that in becoming the best pound-for-pound. Britain hasn't had too many pound-for-pound #1 fighters, so I will be leaving a legacy whatever happens Saturday night. But should I win, I think there's only a few more other fights that may interest me. One would be Juan Manuel Marquez, because obviously he's #2 pound-for-pound, and one would be, although it being maybe I would have to move up to 147 again probably to try and put the record straight with Floyd Jr. But we'll have to get this one out of the way and see how I feel after this fight, But there's not much more you can do than become the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and in doing that, May 2nd, I could certainly be able to retire if I choose to content them. But there's just 1 or 2 little things that I might want to do before I retire, but let's just get this one out of the way.
And finally, look into that camera and tell Mr. Pacquiao what he should expect from the Hitman on Saturday night.
A lot of pressure, a lot of jabbing, a lot of head movement, a lot of angles, a lot of body shots. Just something I feel that he's never had to cope with in his career. As much as he's done in his career, he is the pound-for-pound #1, and what he's done at different weights, he hasn't fought anyone as ferocious as Ricky Hatton, as strong, as fast as Ricky Hatton. And saying is one thing, doing is another. Believe I'm going to do it, no doubt in my mind.
Mentally, physically, he looks ready to go. Best of luck on Saturday night. Stay tuned in ThisCornerTV.com. We'll catch up with the Pac-Man and Freddie Roach next week and hear what they have to say as we lead up to May the 2nd from the MGM Grand. From Las Vegas, I'm Smitty. So long, everybody.